Welcome to the Joe Schmo Experience. Man, it feels good to be back. And I know what you're thinking. What do you mean be back? Well, first off, my name is Joe, and I'm your regular schmo. This is my experience, all right? Now, this is not my first foray or entrance into the podcast game. No, you see, I've had a podcast before called Chip Happens. Most of you probably have never heard it, and by the time you look it up, if this podcast goes anywhere, or if you're just listening, Chip Happens probably is pooled. It was a good time. Now, a little bit about me. I am a teacher, and I started Chip Happens about 2020 just to kind of give myself a little bit of a kind of experience into broadcasting, a little experience for my students, because I am a wood shop or a construction teacher for high school students. It was during COVID, and I was looking to give them kind of an outlet into my own life and how I think about things. And there were some aspects I loved about the Chip Happens podcast, and some aspects I didn't. I didn't really like, talking about my job all the time. I mean, it was cool, but I love talking about my life. I love talking about my kids. I love talking about everything that I think is hilarious and funny. And that's where my experience kind of came from. And then was, kind of gave birth to that Joe Schmo experience that you're listening to right now. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity or a chance for this very first episode. I know it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to be kind of an uphill battle, but it should be pretty fun time nonetheless. Now, about Chip Happens. If you came here from Chip Happens and you've heard of Chip Happens, well, welcome. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're sticking around. This is going to be kind of a new kind of podcast. I'm going to stick to some similar themes. But during the end of Chip Happens, the way it ended was not very good. I kind of just ended abruptly. There was a bunch of things that have happened that caused the end of Chip Happens. The biggest thing really was getting my master's degree, going back to school and really trying to, challenge myself and be better. So what happened was I ran out of time, I was going to say, but I kind of ran myself thin. So I took some things off my plate, and I really tried to focus primarily on that program, for better or for worse. Now that I'm done with that program, I really had some free time, and now I want to get back into the game. I think so. Right. Now, I'll be real honest with you guys. This podcast was not supposed to be called the Joe Schmo Experience. And yes, I am having a play on words with the Joe Rogan Experience, which would be sweet if he invites me on one day, because I got a lot of questions. Right. But what I wanted to do differently was I wanted to talk about my experiences. I wanted to talk about things that make me happy, not necessarily just teaching, which you'll get a wide variety of stories and you'll get my opinions on a lot of those things related to that. But I really wanted to talk about just my life and how I navigate through things, which I don't really know if that's super interesting to anyone listening out there, but I think it's pretty fun. Now, I was on the Data and Boys podcast. I like to think I'm a regular on that one. And I was talking to DB, and we were talking about new podcasts, and I was like, maybe I'm going to restart. I'm going to call it the Young, Dumb, and Broke podcast. Now, I was going to have that one Khalid song. Is his name Khalid? I think so. Where he's like, yeah, da, 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 da. Yeah, like kind of like that. I'm not going to sing it for you guys, but that was going to be the intro, and I was going to completely redo it all. And then today, literally today, you're hearing this recording right now. I don't know when this is going to come out. This will probably come out in the middle of June, but on June 12th, today, this is when I'm recording this, I was like, I'm going to rename it. And I went through a bunch of names. I'll be real honest. I went to ChatGPT, which is wild. I went to ChatGPT and was like, podcast names. And they were giving me like weird stuff like hilarity and hacksaws or comedy and cleverness. And I'm like, this is so stupid. And I'm like putting in more manly, more tough. More mysterious, more scary. And I'm just like getting weirder and weirder and weirder names. Like nothing is super cool. And it wasn't until I was kind of going through like just different names where I'm like, what if I did like my name? So I really wanted to be about my life. I'm like, what if I did like, my name's Joseph. I'm like, what if I did like Joseph's experience? And then I'm like, Joe Rogan, Joe isn't Joe. And then I'm like, I'm just like a regular Joe though. And I think I'm like, oh, regular Joe, that's cool. And then so I was like kind of bouncing things off the air now off of Google. And I kind of fell onto the name of Joe Schmo. And I haven't heard someone say Joe Schmo in probably years, if not ever. So I was like, oh, the Joe Schmo podcast. I kind of dig it. There's something about it, something kind of nice about it, something a little fancy. I kind of like the Joe Schmo podcast vibe. So that's what I'm going to aim for, right? And I didn't know really what it was about. And I texted DB. I was like, dude, got a new name, got a new logo, right? Got everything, right? I left my hosting service and I, really tried to focus on this podcast. And he goes, what's it about? And I'm like, oh, I never really thought about what it was about. I just really figured I'd just talk about what was on my mind during that time. So I jotted down a bunch of notes. And I think over the course of, this podcast, I'm going to continue to have topics to discuss and talk about. Topics that range from a wide variety of topics, from Zens all the way to self-man-made submarines is on the topic, which a year ago that submarine imploded, and I really want to explore that because I'm a nerd and I think that's super funny. Now, a little bit about my life, my setup, and everything. So I was lucky enough to receive a grant to do a podcast for my students, and when the grant kind of ended, the podcast also started going, I wouldn't say downhill, but it started, taking a little bit of a backseat. I started redoing a lot of things in the wood shop that I work in, and I slowly stopped doing the podcasting. Now I have all this stuff. I'm like, well, let me dump some more money into it and really spend some time, thinking about how I'm going to make this podcast something new, something better, something I can really be proud of to show off to people. And that's really what my whole goal was to do that. Now, it's not necessarily going to be super serious, not going to be super funny. I'm going to try my best to do everything else. I'm going to have special guests on here. And I'm going to really try to not necessarily reinvent myself, but I'm going to try to make a better experience and just have fun doing it, man. That's all I want to do is have fun. I don't care if this whole thing could never blow up ever. That's all right for me, right? As long as I just have fun doing it, that'd be cool. I have a lot of things planned that I think are new, and not necessarily new ideas, but new for me. I think it would be super fun and something that we can do together if you're a listener of me. Now, I'm a really big community person, and I need your help to build that community. If you're listening to this right now, if you are on Twitter, it's not called Twitter anymore. Elon Musk kind of jacked it up. What is it, X? I don't know. You can follow right now at Joe Schmo, I think, show. Hold on. I got my phone right here with me, and I just made a new Twitter handle because it used to be Chip Happens, but Chip Happens is dead now. So if we were to look at the Twitter, it's Joe Schmo Pod, all right, on Twitter. Follow me on there. Give me a follow and tell me that you listened to the first episode, right? And maybe I'll do something cool for you, send a sticker or something your way. Because I think, being there day one is such a cool thing, and you should be rewarded for day one, right? Now, I definitely want to help build a community and want something that's cool and refreshing, something that's not taken super serious, so you can just listen to, that's easy sound bites, right? And I'll be real honest, I am self-diagnosed ADD, and I have no idea if I can make it past an hour of a podcast. Now, I'm going to try my best to, right? But I'm at least going to aim for 30, 45 minutes. I think that's a good quick bite, something that is easy to digest, maybe once a week that we can talk about and go through. Now, if they last a little bit longer, they last a little bit longer. I'm totally cool with it. Whatever I have a topic for, whatever I can talk about, I think that'll be a great, great time. Right? I'm only going to get better. Now, you should have heard the very first episode, Chip Happens. I was all like real quiet and serious and kind of mysterious like this. It was crazy. That was not the way it was supposed to be. I didn't know I could talk at like a normal level or just at all in general. And it was kind of weird talking to no one. Like right now, I'm literally looking at Logic right now as the red line is going and recording my voice. So it's really rough. And so eventually I'll have like notes and all this other stuff. So right now I'm kind of just freeballing it and making sure that, I'm at least recording something that's somewhat coherent as we go across. So in terms of, audio, I'm trying to make sure everything's good. I upgraded the mic. I still have my soundboard from Chip Happens where I can do like cool things like this. I don't even know what this is right here. I think I have a Skrillex song on here. Let's see here. Oh, that's DJ Horns. There's nothing on that one. Bangarang. Yep. Yeah, so I have like some weird things. I'm going to reinvent pretty much everything from ground up, starting with this very first episode. Now, as time goes on, some things haven't changed. I still own a media company called Mastercraft Media Co., and that's going to be kind of the main producer of these podcasts. They will be pushed out solely underneath Mastercraft's name or production. So you'll see some of that. Just know it's just my company on Instagram. I think it's linked to Mastercraft Media Co. And I have a couple different projects with a wide variety of people, whether it be like photography, TikTok, all those kind of stuff. Mastercraft has kind of been running all that stuff behind the scenes. But I'm really trying to start this organically, right? I'm not really trying to do a whole lot of not like hype for it, but I'm really trying not to do a whole lot of advertisement. I'm trying to start organically and just start fresh, something new, something unique, and hopefully get and grow an audience in a more meaningful way. And I know it's going to be a slow burn. It's going to be a slow roll, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. With Chip Happens, I had about 3,000 listeners. I was looking at the metric data today. It was wild to me. Wild. I had no idea that I had 3,000 like constant listeners. And so it sucked to close it down with no explanation. I didn't post an episode. I didn't do anything. If you're listening to this right now, you have until July 1st to hear all of the Chip Happen episodes before they are removed from the internet. So just keep that in mind. And I loved doing Chip Happens. It was super fun, but I just felt like it wasn't relevant anymore. I was doing things that I felt like it was just I was playing music on Chip Happens. Like I'd be like, here's a song I really like. 'Cause I knew it would burn up 5 minutes, right? Of a 30-minute, 45-minute podcast, I knew I would at least burn up 5. And I think that's where a lot of the issue became, was I was just doing things at that moment just to burn time, instead of just doing stuff that made me feel comfortable and made me feel, not necessarily comfortable, but made me feel productive. And I think that's where I want to go with this podcast. Not necessarily be a time burner, but I want this podcast to be something that I can, really look back on and be like, yeah, this guy told all these stories and it was super cool. And it was a decently good time, right? And that's all I want this to be. And if this grows into something huge, then it grows into something huge. If this stays small like it is now with no one, then it stays small with no one. Maybe one day, someone will see it after I die or something like that, and we can go from there. But oh my God, I'm like choking on something. That was wild. Anyways, so as we continue on with this podcasting game, I just wanted to start this episode out and be as transparent as possible on what happened, where we came from, and where we have been. So anyways, who is Joe? Well, as of right now, as a recording, this is 2024. I am 28 years old. I am a father of 2, happily married to my wife of 5 years, and I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. I wake up every day wondering what the hell I'm going to do that day. It's kind of a vicious cycle of not knowing anything about your life. And I know it's probably a cry for help, and it might be, but I just want you to know I have no idea what I'm doing right now. Like, I literally told my wife, hey, I'm going to record a podcast tonight. She goes, no, you're not. I said, yeah, I'm going to go in the little office, and I'm just going to sit down. I'm just going to record a podcast. And she goes, what are you going to talk about? I said, I don't know. I have a list. Like, literally, I'll pull it up the list right now, and we can see the list right now. These are this is the list. Let me look up my notes. Okay, so origins. That's what we're talking about right now. Chip Happens. I have e-rears, tobaccos, in case you missed it, submarines, rap beef, room decoration, solar, cheap shit, homesteading, trad wife feud, dumb purchases, and trying stuff on the internet so you don't have to. I'll be real honest with you. I am an impulse buyer. Actually, I'm a depressed buyer. Every time I went through a breakup, I was like, you know what? Yeah, sure, she's with some hot dude. And maybe I'm not that hot guy, but you know what they don't have? Custom Nike light up shoes. Let me say that again. Custom Nike 1-of-1 Kobe X green poison light up shoes that light up every time you tap your heels, boy. Oh my God. I still have those shoes. You know who doesn't have those shoes? Chad, who is now not with my ex-girlfriend anymore because I think she's married to another dude. I don't even know. I don't even follow her anymore. But I know those shoes in those closets, well, those closets, like multiple closets, that closet, that shoe, multiple, those are solely mine. 1-of-1. 1-of-1. Incredible. But I have made a ton of dumb purchase decisions. And as the podcast goes on, you're going to hear about my review of those dumb purchases. I have pretty much purchased every trendy thing that you may have seen an advertisement for, just so you guys don't have to. Thought about a bunch of different wild things that we can do together, like a book club, which sounds weird, but I promise it's not. And just special guests in my life, right? People that maybe live different experiences that I want to bring on and just kind of talk about, and we can kind of go through them together, right? So that's kind of where I'm looking in the future. I think with this podcast, I think with the Joe Schmo experience, I think it's going to be an ever-evolving thing. It's not going to be polished. It's not going to be finished. And I think that's what's so cool about it. It's never going to be finished, right? I'm going to go through things all the time, and I'm going to have people on here that have been through a wide variety of different experiences and different walks of life. And I want to explore those, and I want to, kind of laugh through them with you guys and make sure that, we're kind of exploring those things. And it's a people podcast that we're about people. It's what we're really about. We're just about each other. We're about having a good time, about having fun. Now, what's tough is that my jokes are all really dirty. I do not make appropriate jokes. I'll be real honest with you. So it's going to be really tough for me to keep a family podcast like this. Now, if things start getting a little out of hand, maybe I might have to start, posting a little secret extra podcast where I just go crazy with the jokes I wrote. I don't know where you post those, because YouTube, you can't post any curse words anymore. I'm pretty sure if I drop an F-bomb right now, I'm not Pat McAfee, but pretty sure if I drop an F-bomb, I'd be banned from YouTube. I mean, I haven't tried it. I could try it right now. Oh, you thought I was going to. I almost fucking got. Oh, shit. Oh. Well, we're going to see if this gets flagged or not. We'll see right here. If you have little children listening to this podcast, that's wild for you to have a child listening to a very first podcast of someone. You don't even know what the podcast is named Joe Schmo. It's not like a Sesame Street name. What are you doing with your life? Be better. Be better. Anyways, as we move on, as we move forward, I don't know what kind of shape this is going to take. I'm down for anything, really. But I think it's going to be a good time. I'm thankful you're here for the ride. Now, before we close out, it's going to be a short one. People. Not going to lie to you. Before we close out this podcast, things are going to be different, right? This first podcast show is just me laying down the groundwork for you guys. Me just making sure you guys are all good to go, and that I kind of explain myself a little bit. I don't want to give away too much of my life all at once, because this is it's going to be a slow burner. It's kind of like my therapy here. I guess instead of paying for professional therapy, like actual people, I can just talk into a microphone and maybe it resonates with someone. Or I get the police called on me because I'm insane. One or the other, one knows. I was also thinking about doing a text from my dad section, and just to kind of go through. So let's go through it together. Let's start with some text from my dad right here. Okay, my dad lives currently in a trailer underneath a bridge, so I'm not joking. Okay, my dad goes, "Happy Easter to you and your family, Joe." He calls me Joseph, but it's Joe. "How big are your kids getting? Send me a picture of your family." 2 hours later, I respond, "Happy Easter. They're getting big. Son is 4, daughter's 5 months. Nice. Thanks. Good to see them. I'm playing music to my girlfriend. I'll send you 2 songs I sent her." He proceeds to send me the song by Buck Cherry, classic, "Crazy Bitch." And then he goes, "That's pretty good, ha." And then he goes, then sends me a video of Rage Against the Machine killing in the name. He goes, "I was laughing so hard, like tears are coming out of my eyes." I'm like, "Oh, nice, the classics." He goes, "Yeah, Happy Easter for sure. I got good stuff." 2 months later, he sends me a YouTube video. Not even 2 months later, March to June, sends me a YouTube video. Itty bitty titties. I put, "Nice one." Then he goes, "Yeah, I'm laughing all the time. Nipples the size of dimples or pimples, question mark." And that's where we got. That's where we got. And that, my friends, is, I don't even know what I was going to call him. I was going to call him a name. I was going to call him Papa, but I don't know if I should call him Papa or Mistake. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this good episode. It's probably a mess. We'll see how it goes. There's probably a lot of breaks in here. I'm looking at the thing as it goes across, and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to edit this thing, but it should be a good time. I appreciate every single one of you listening. Let's have some fun together, all right? We'll see you guys next time. Is the Joe Smo Experience.